She saw one of these things when I showed her. She couldn't go to my cousin's wedding up in Maine because she just couldn't travel. And I showed her a video on the phone, and she goes, "You mean to tell me that little thing's a TV?" You never would have known. You never would have known. So
she was something, huh?
Oh, she was a spit and vinegar. Very, like, the pillar. I called her the pillar of our family because she held up, like, she would just say, "Stand strong," and poof, you know.
Yeah.
It was just, it was German. She's German, so she had that.
Damn those Germans.
Yes, yes, the Germans. So that
Damn the Germans.
Yeah. And my grandpa was German, you know, they're very German. But so yeah, we're here with a very special friend of mine, Marilyn Dupuy Adams, and she was my high school social worker back in the 80s and 90s. And we've remained a friendship for years. That we lost touch, but then, you know, we pick up where we left off. And she has one of the only people that I know that has experienced or witnessed what I went through in life. And it's actually, a lot of it is in the book that I gave her today, Izzy Nuts, which is my memoir. And reading this, she's going to relive a lot of the stuff that she protected me from. And I just have a few questions for you, Marilyn. First of all, this is such a blessing.
It is a blessing.
Thank you.
That's a good word for it.
Thank you.
Yep.
You were always an ally and supportive of myself. And I just wanted to ask you, what was it like when I came out in the 80s?
It was different. You were the first person probably at the high school that came out.
Yeah.
You had to contend with teachers who were not accepting. You had to contend with principals, vice principal, guidance counselors. I think that you are such a good person. It would not matter to me, and I couldn't understand why it mattered to other people.
Yeah.
What was the problem?
Yeah.
You were such a good person.
Yeah.
And I know you were scared, but you were strong.
Yeah.
And you know, it was something that we dealt with every single day after you came out.
Yeah.
I mean, it just didn't.
No, it didn't go away.
No, it wasn't going to go away.
Because it.
Yeah. And then once it began to be known among the students, it spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
And so that was, you know, your education in terms of your social studies and your math and your English, that
it suffered.
Took an absolute backseat.
So I was a victim of a brutal gay bashing in my public high school, where I was attacked by 15 students in my public restroom. And I wasn't even out to Marilyn, who was my best friend, I guess you could say. If anything, you broke the barriers because you weren't allowed to be friends with the students, but it was around the time when they were stopping that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you were always just Marilyn to me. You weren't Mrs. Dupuy or Miss Dupuy.
Right.
And I had to be.
But that wasn't unique to you, you know?
Yeah.
You know, there were other students who were also, I had the same relationship with.
And that's what I needed, was a friend. I didn't need a social worker. I needed a friend.
Yeah.
And you knew that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. And she would take.
I needed a friend too.
We all needed, but we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
Did we have a lot of fun?
So I'm sorry for not telling you that I was gay, but I was so embarrassed, and I thought I would lose you, I guess, and I didn't.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, because I didn't want you to feel that you would lose me because of that. Really, Dennis. I did that. And
you've taught that time and it's now 2023 or whatever year we're in. It has shown to be so stand the test of time. I also recall that you were just so supportive, and I'm nervous. I'm like shaking right now. But this is, but so because you defended me. You were my what is that called? Advocate.
Okay. All right.
And so I was expelled, and then I was put on homebound tutoring. I was allowed 10 hours a week that they were paying for. And then after that, they ended up, when I went on national television, let's talk about that, because they cut it down to 1 hour a week of schooling.
Yeah.
And you were like, this is unacceptable. How can he get all this credits with 1 hour of tutoring?
Yeah.
And they would say, my guidance counselor, did you run around your backyard? And that was my gym credit.
Yeah.
And I'd go, oh, yes, I did. Okay, check.
Yeah.
You know,
that was not a good situation.
No. And you were my advocate. You defended me. You went, and what did the principal say at the time? We don't have to call him by name, but what did he question you when I first came out?
Oh dear. Let me think for a minute.
What bathroom is he going to use?
Yeah, actually it was 3 of them. I had to walk into
a firing squad.
Yeah, the main office where the principal and the vice principal and
the school superintendent.
The school superintendent, and then also the head of the special education program.
Yeah.
And they were. I walked in thinking that, I'm just going to let them talk.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I did not want to do is I did not want them to question me about your personal life.
Yeah.
And I made that resolution to myself that I would not discuss I would discuss educational things. That was fine, but personal, no, I would not discuss that. And what happened was the first question, or maybe, I don't know, maybe the 3rd or 4th question was, what bathroom is Dennis going to use? And I thought, and I said, if this is your main concern, then, we have to do something besides what you're doing.
Yeah.
This has to go further. This just can't stay at was it Penny High School then?
East Hartford, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. East Hartford High School, Penny High School. It can't just stay here, and it will not stay here.
Yeah.
And it didn't stay there.
No.
And that's when you started to do your personal appearances.
Yeah. Well, so when I appeared on 7 national and international talk shows. The first one was the Sally Jesse Raphael show. And we actually went to your mother's house to watch that. And but I wasn't enrolled in school. I mean, I had school at home with a tutor. And so I was able to spend time with Marilyn, and we were able to drive around towns and do errands and things.
And be normal.
And be normal.
Be normal friends,
Yeah.
And maybe that was frowned upon at that particular time, but so what?
Yeah.
So
I was first, before I came out, I was an emancipated minor. And that is, I legally divorced myself from my parents at the age of 16, which the school didn't know what to do with. Like, he's emancipated, we got to call his parents, and you would say, no, you can't.
You can't.
There's a document. He is his legal guardian.
Yeah.
And you went to court with me for that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a learning experience for both of us.
Yes, it was.
And I have to tell you, I have to give my mom credit.
Yeah.
Because we went to her apartment, and my mom, she had no questions about anything.
No, was a sweetheart.
She was a very, very sweet, ahead of her time person.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
She was. I miss that woman.
Yeah.
So we watched the first episode. I think you had an intern with you too, from the School of Social Work.
I think you're absolutely right. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who it was.
Yeah. I don't remember. I remember she was taller, but very nice. And so that was the first. And then the second show was the Larry King Live on CNN.
Yeah.
And I had no clue that was an international broadcasted to 200 countries.
Well, Larry King, I don't think he even understood who he was.
I didn't.
No.
I was naive.
Yeah.
I was naive.
Yeah.
But there was nobody in my era coming out on national television, nevertheless a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And so that was a different time.
You were brave, Dennis.
No, you were brave.
No, nah. And what are they going to do? They couldn't fire me at that point.
You almost did lose your job, though.
Well, I've lost teachers, because of that,
Yeah.
the staff in general thought that I was gay because I defended you. And I got a note on my desk one morning
I didn't know this.
You didn't?
No.
Got a note on my desk saying, what do you think you're doing? And if you would like me to help you with your problems, I will.
I think I know who did this. The woman across the hall. No. Okay.
No, it was a guidance counselor.
Okay.
And then I received other offers of help from other staff people. I don't think I had one ally,
No.
with the exception of
Carol.
Carol and then Ken Gush.
Yeah.
And he, the two of them, were willing to.
So the school graduated me early and gave me my credits. They graduated. So I was out of
They
school.
said, get out of here.
Get out of here. We don't want you. But
Can we talk about the senior ball?
Yeah, that's where I'm going now.
Oh, okay.
Because I ended up, so I was out of school from October of my junior year into the beginning of the school year in September of my senior year. So that was almost a whole year I lost school.
Right.
And then they said you can come back, but it's only for the first semester because then we're graduating you in January.
And all of this was illegal.
Yeah.
It was all illegal.
It was all illegal.
Yeah. I mean, they were supposed to provide education, special education classes for you, which they did not.
Yep.
To a certain extent they did.
Yeah.
But it was all illegal.
1 hour of tutoring a week. And then they basically just told my teachers, give him a passing grade to get him out of here.
Yep.
And that's unacceptable. But wow, I had no idea this is therapeutic. This is like our first therapy session, and it's like, and you were my therapist in school. But so that I guess was, so then what happened was I was feeling very ashamed that I was missing out on the peer activities in school. And so I did not participate in any activity other than I said, I'm taking a man to my senior ball.
And that did it.
And it ended up on the front page of the papers.
Yes, it did.
And they, of course, it was like all over, and they hired a security guard, Mr. Islam. He's passed away, so God rest his soul. He was a good man. But, and so you went to this, and you never went to any extra.
No. I got called into the day of the prom.
Yeah.
The ball. The day of the ball.
Yeah.
Got called into the office with the same players.
Yeah, the school superintendent showed up, which he only come once a month, right?
Right, yeah.
And he was there a lot because of me.
And so the question was, would you be willing to go to the senior ball this evening? And I said, why? Why? Who's my date? And they said, well, in case Dennis has a meltdown, okay?
Was I a meltdown kind of kid at the time? I was just full of spit and vinegar.
Well, in case you had a meltdown, I could deal with you, and then Mr. Islam was to deal with your date. And that's the way that went. And nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
The students were very accepting.
Very.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was good.
The only thing that happened was I remember the head of psychology or department was signing us in, and she just looked at me evil-eyed. And we were late because I was nervous, and I didn't want to get there when everyone else did, and they were eating salad. And the table that we were supposed to sit at, there was no room for us. So they were like, let's fill this because we don't want Dennis and his date sitting here. And then my friend Tina Gasper stood up with her date, and we heard everyone's fork hit the plate. We walked in. And Tina Gasper stood up and said, he can sit with us. We have room. They made room for us.
Yeah.
And it was just, and that started the night. And then we were getting, people were coming up saying, can I get your picture together? And yeah, it was just really, but it was nerve-wracking. I mean, that was 1991.
Yeah.
You just did not do that. But it was a feeling that I needed to prove a point. I think.
I think it was a really good thing that you did.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that we can be proud of your class.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
they, you know, they really did. They did well.
My only regret, and I did not go to my high school graduation because it was at the Civic Center in Hartford,
Right.
and there was going to be thousands of people there, and I was afraid people were going to scream faggot when I walked across.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I sat on the edge of the Connecticut River crying as I saw the traffic of cars going over the bridge, and bawled and cried because I knew I wasn't going to have my graduation.
But look at you now, Dennis.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, look at you now.
Yeah.
Look at.
Yeah.
You know.
And so that's true. But it's because of you.
Well, it's not. It's really not because of me. You know, I've learned a whole lot from you.
You're
A
humble.
whole lot from you. And I thank you too for that.
Thank you.
For our friendship.
Yeah.
Because you are just such a nice person.
Thank you.
And it's difficult to be. I mean, why would you not like you?
But you are nice too, and funny. And the things we would get into. Oh man, we were like, we did things. There's a story of her father worked at a famous department store that's now owned by Macy's. It's called G Fox. And her and her mother used to get a discount. And if they wanted something returned, they called Dennis. So I returned a mattress,
Yeah.
a used mattress, and they took it back. But from that point on, her mother and her never got their employee discount. It was taken away. So, yeah, that's just, but anyway,
But you think, I think about, like, when you say that particular story, I think about us running around the streets of Hartford, many of which are no longer there, like Asylum Street, and by saying, I'll park here, Dennis, and you run up there and you try to get the mattress changed. And you did.
Yeah.
And that was only one of an adventure that we...
And we had no cell phones. We had
No, we didn't.
Nothing. And then, and I just really, your office was my safe haven.
Good.
And I know a lot of students felt that way.
Thank you.
And you have quite the reputation, which is good.
Oh, my God.
And
thank you.
I have a yearbook here from a friend of mine that graduated in 1974, and she had a picture of Maryland in here, so she brought it over so you could see it, and I showed it to you earlier, but yeah, that was just, and even just, 5 years later, we had Christmas dinner together, and it was just at your house, and you put out quite the spread, and it was just miraculous.
Thank you.
So thank you.
It was miraculous to have you there.
Ditto. Well, thank you for being a pioneer.
Oh.
You're
welcome.
I can't say many other social workers would have put their life and livelihood on the line for that.
I wish it hadn't been such a event. I mean, I wish that we could have, you could have come out, you could have did what you did, you could have gone on TV, you could have done all. I wish it wasn't such a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
Do
you think the school was shocked at the amount of, because I remember every time I went on another talk show, it was because they did something that hurt me. And so I was like, that's it, I'm going on Larry King. That's it, I'm going on, these different talk shows. Do you think they were like, how is he getting on all these shows or these appearances?
Oh, I think they did. They had no idea they had no idea what was, and I think that when we first started this, and I thought, and I think I said this to you when we were doing this is not going to stay in East Hartford, Connecticut.
No.
This is not going to stay here. This is what is happening in our world, and good.
And Larry King Live, I mean, it was broadcasted to 200 countries. And translated in hundreds of languages, and I had no clue who I was naive. I didn't know.
Well, it was an adventure, Dennis.
Yeah.
And it continues today.
It does. Unfortunately, 35 years later, it still, is an issue.
It is still an issue, and that makes me very sad.
Yeah.
Because it just, I don't know, changes a bit, Some people get involved that never thought they would be involved. And I think that we've all been educated,
Yeah.
and some of us accept it, and some of us stamp our feet and say, no, no way.
Do you think in a way we've gone backwards?
I do.
Yeah.
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 And I think there's one person we can thank for that. And I refer to him as Agent Orange.
Okay. So, well, thank you. I love you.
Love you too.
And you are
Love
an
you more.
awesome friend.
And we need to see each other more.
We do. Well, we're going to lunch.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah. We'll
And
do
we're
that.
gonna do this, and I'm gonna stay in touch more. I have to get better at that.
I have to get better at trying to navigate between doctor's appointments. Let me tell you, I never used to go to the doctor. Never.
Never.
And
I
if you said
remember.
doctor to me, I'd say no.
Our biggest thing was you always referred to me as like that. We call it Google now, but you don't have an internet, so you don't have Google. But oh, there's a funny story about my grandmother. When I had a laptop and I brought it over to her house, and this was like in the 2000s or something, and I said, I want to teach you how to use the mouse. And she goes, what's a mouse? I don't want that fuzzy thing. I was showing her, and I said, what would you like to Google? She goes, let's Google the senior center in town. And I says, oh, and up pops a picture of the mayor. And I says, Grandma, if you right click on this twice, you'll blow her up. And she goes, good heavens, she's a house as it is. If we blow her up, she'll be like, because she said she was very large.
She was, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, her wit. Yeah, it's just, but you always remembered them on my street, my grandparents, and
Because they had it was such a nice street.
Yeah.
Everybody's house was like so perfect.
yeah, like just, remember when they built at the dairy farm, they built that street, you called it Hollywood? It's like that, it looks like a strip from Hollywood. There's all these perfect houses. Like, you're like, what did they do? Yeah. So, well, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, you're so cute.
My little dog is going to choke here.